Hey all, Board Game Rant, you will find everything solo tabletop gaming and more. Here's what I've been up to this week. Got a few games to talk about, one in particular. At the end of this, or in the notes, you'll find some videos I looked at to learn more about these games, but here's what I thought. Let's go take a look. So, I played The Mind, Too Many Bones, Undertow, Monsterlands, and then Founders of Gloomhaven. Those are the games that I got in this week. Starting with The Mind, as I only played once at a family gathering. It's a dinner. We usually break this out and we play. And it's just a great game. I've talked about it a lot. Very simple. The deck of 100 cards, numbered from 1 to 100. And each round, depending on the players, you're going to play 8, 10, or 12 rounds. If you play with 4, 3, or 2 players, 2 players, the most rounds. Each round you deal out a card for the number of rounds you're in. And so, and it's the dreaded first round, and I play with 4 players, and you deal out this one card, and you got to play them in order. So whoever's, I might get a 3, and the next person might get a 57, and then the next person a 92, and the other person a 58. And you have to play them in order from low to high. Sounds easy, but you can't talk. You can look at each other. Nobody can give any kind of signs, or whatever. That's why I call it The Mind. You got to like mind meld. And that first round is just, it's like one of the toughest because y'all got one card to play. So I'd play my 2 or 3, whatever I said I had. But then the 57 and the 58, it's hard. You just sit there and just staring at each other. The 90-somethings just kind of, put their card down. You can do that. And then, you only get so many lives. If you play out of order, so say that 58 goes before the 57, then it counts against you and you lose a life and you'll get a few of those, lives. And, but then you can also in the game, which is kind of cool. Like if you're both you're looking at each other and like, I want to put a card down. No, I want to put a card down. No, I want to, you can, throw a ninja star. It looks like a little ninja star. It's a little thing you can do. And if you all agree, then you can all play from your hand the lowest card. Well, in the first or second round, sometimes that's your only card. And sometimes it's the way to go to get through. Because you want to get all the way to the 8th round. And you've each got 8 cards. And by then, though, you're really in this rhythm. And the game is very cool. It's very easy. And we're gonna keep playing that one to death, I imagine. So the other one I got a quick game in, Too Many Bones, Undertow. And that game is actually pretty easy to just bust out and play. It's easier than the standard Too Many Bones. Maybe just because it's a smaller box and everything's more compactly stored. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I just took it out and I was like, yeah, no. That was one thing I was like thinking, okay, I haven't played this in a bit. It's going to take a bit, like a whole, month. And I got to remember some stuff, but I just took it out and everything was just like, doop, 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 doop. Must have been 10 minutes and that game was ready to go. And then I played a fairly quick game and I was done in about 45 minutes. It's just, I love Too Many Bones and I've said it over and over again. A staple solo game for me, probably forever. And I just love it. So going on though, I played some more. I talked about this game quite a bit last week, Monsterlands. Monsterlands is the best game I've ever played that I've seen no sign of on the hotness list on Board Game Geek ever. Not the best game I ever played, but it's easily like I don't get why it's not. There's no talk of it. Why it doesn't even make the list? I mean, I look at the games, a huge list on the hotness, and I look at some of them, I'm like, what the, how is that on there and not Monsterlands? Because it's just a good game. But in all fairness, I know when it popped out in my game store, 2 weeks ago or something, I looked at it and I was like, what? I'd never heard of it, but I took the leap. I'm glad I did. I actually played one game multiplayer and it was great. I enjoyed it a lot, multiplayer. It took for friggin' ever, but that's the way all games, in the first time you play with a group, especially when one of them, everybody's got something to do and you kind of take off and then you come back and you take off and it's like, okay, I got to kind of this was the rules again. The reason why I can play so many games in a week when I play by myself and why I can't play all those games if I don't play by myself. So I play by myself a lot. But Monsterlands multiplayer was very cool. But let's get to the one that really is the one. I played Founders of Gloomhaven for the first time. Got a killer deal on it. This one is, you know, it's the one that just didn't do too well. I have a feeling if Founders of Gloomhaven came before Gloomhaven, it would have been more well received, because I like it. I like the game. And it's not great. And the reason why I say it's not great is because it just doesn't seem very intuitive to me. So it's basically you're building the town of Gloomhaven, and which consists of a bunch of resource buildings and roads that kind of connect them. And I mean, the whole game is basically building. There's 3 tiers of resource buildings. There's the first tier, which is just your basic resources, and then a combination of those tends to allow you to make the second tier of resources, and then a combination of those first and second tier resources allows you to make the final tier of resources. And then the game is about providing prestige buildings, which come out on the board, with a variety of these resources. And that's it. That's the game. I've only played it solo. I think this game would play pretty well if you were playing multiplayer, but I don't know. I don't think I'm ever going to play it with anybody else. It's puzzly. You've got kind of a hand building mechanism to it. There's just a ton of rules to building this city that don't just, like, you know, wash over me like, that makes sense. Like the adjacency rule. You can't have any of your resource buildings adjacent to one another. Well, and everything's in squares. So adjacent in so many games means orthogonal, but this it includes diagonal. So you can't have anything but roads in the 8 spaces around a single resource. Basic resource tiles just consists of 1 tile, and then you've got your tier 2 and your tier 3 resources are much bigger, and you can't have anything around them at all, even diagonally. In order to be able to build like a tier 2 resource, you have to link it with usually 2 tier 1 resources. Okay, so 2 basic resources allow you to make tier 2 resource, and you have to link those with roads. So they can't be anywhere near each other. And this one can't be anywhere. It can't be adjacent. It can be near, but just not adjacent. And so you're always building. You build these rows. Say you've got stone and wood, and stone and wood allows you to build, you know, I don't know, cheese. Doesn't make sense. Anyway, but you have to, you know, get a road linking, because it can't be touching. You can't have stone and wood touching each other. Oh no, you got to have a road between them. So the road, but then that road, then you have to have a road that links that over to your cheese, your tier 2 resource. And so, but they can't be touching, and they have to have roads. But then if you have like let's say you have one resource and a road, and another resource and a road, and another resource, it's like, it looks like it's all linked, but it's not. Things are not linked through buildings. Through your resource buildings, they're not linked. You have to build a little road that goes boop, boop, kind of around something. And the roads, but the roads don't look, they're squares. It doesn't look like they're linked. And so it takes a while and to not screw up the rules. You have to build, like you build your houses, they have to be on the forest tiles. The very first tier 1 resources, the single tiles, you can build them anywhere. You don't have to have them connected with anything. But all the other things, you do have to have them connected with something. But connected does not mean adjacent. And so it's just like when you prestige buildings, which come out at the end of each round, you can tuck in anywhere. And it's just like, but the prestige buildings, it's a bit of a mess. You have to really wire building it, make sure you're not making mistakes. You know, I played it 8 times, and I've won now 2 or 3 of those, and you start to get the hang of it, and it's actually, it's fun. It's a little bit of a production. You're just constantly double checking yourself. I swear, I look at that board and I'm thinking, like, you know, it's like staring at any word written for too long. Like, it doesn't start looking right. And the more I stare at it, the more the word "the" just doesn't, it like the. How is that the? The is the? Anyway, it might just be me. But staring at this board, it's the same thing that I'll look at it and I'm like, okay, I got to kind of like, you know, I'm going to play this peekaboo thing to try and just quickly get a look at it to get a sense, okay, is everything in the right place? Do I have everything not touching? Is this linked with this thing way the frick over there? I need cloth at this prestige building. Is it linked all the way to my cloth resource over here? And it has nothing to do with Gloomhaven. You know, I think that's why it was not well received at all. People played Gloomhaven. It plays nothing. I mean, it is nothing like Gloomhaven. It has some words that share, you know, you can play the different races you'll see, and I'm sure the town buildings are quite, I haven't played through the whole Gloomhaven game yet, but I recognize some of the town. It's pretty cool that the map that you build on does look like a bigger version of the actual town in the real game. No, I mean, what are the chances you're going to strike lightning? What are the chances lightning's going to strike in the same place twice? And then Gloomhaven, and then Gloomhaven. Nobody, it just didn't, because it's just, I think too many people picked it up, even though I know there was people out there saying this is not like Gloomhaven, and you just can't help yourself. You're like, but I just loved Gloomhaven. I've got to have it. And you get this game, and it'd be just like, and that was one disappointing thing. I thought it could do a lot better with Founders of Gloomhaven to just, because it is a little bit samey. You're buying the same cards all the time, and you're kind of building out in the same way. But you'll build the resources in a different pattern each time, because the cards that come out, you can only pick those up if you built certain resources. And the prestige buildings that come out, that each round you put out a prestige building, and then you have to start fulfilling that, at least one resource each round, or you get penalized. And if you can't pay that penalty, you lose the game. You can really get screwed, you know. So like if the cards don't come out right along and link up with the prestige buildings, you know, and you're supposed to get all 4 of the 3-tiered resources, the highest, hardest resources to build, you're in trouble. And so and it can really kind of just screw you over that way. And although one game I did build actually every single resource. The other thing that was disappointing about Founders of Gloomhaven is with all the variety in Gloomhaven and how different each race was and how you play them, there really wasn't. There was just, you get a board, and like each race started with a different starting resource and one little power. And that, you know, there just wasn't a lot of variety there. And when you're playing solo too, a lot of the game didn't kick in, because a lot of the game has to do with multiplayer stuff. So you just kind of have to, you know, ignore a lot of stuff. And it was just so much of the game couldn't be included or wasn't included in the solo version. I guess it'd be tough to make it all work, but I mean, other games have, you know, they go to those lengths to make sure the solo game is very engrossing, and Founders of Gloomhaven just wasn't really. And it's not the kind of game, as I was alluding to, you can just bust out a month or 2 or 5 later and read the rules and you know, bam, and you've got it. It's because, like I said, it's not very intuitive. But I took out Gloomhaven and I set it up and I read through the rule book real quick, and it all made sense. A game that complex. So that's it. That's all I got for you this week. So you'll find some links down below to, if you want to know anything more about any of these games I've mentioned, and mainly Founders, some of the videos I've looked at to learn more, learn how to play, etc. And until next time, well, we got some holidays coming up, so I may not be, but at the end of the month, I'll be putting out that MVP. And please leave some comments or whatever down below. If you have any questions, or maybe you're like, Founders of Gloomhaven is the best game ever, or no, I can't believe you even liked it a little bit. Anything. Love to hear from you. I'm Board Game Rants, and until next time, I'm out. Hey, all Board Game. Yeah, let's adjust your glasses that don't exist.